I agree. I mean, it's very difficult when you're basically when you're living for the rest of the world because of the fact of what you see, what's going on the planet, and you just have this impulse or this drive to like, let's fix this, let's do something with it. Aaron, if it's okay with you, is there any chance we can extend this talk another half hour?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because, that would mean we would have an hour left. I just got permission from the radio host saying that we can do an extra hour. I mean, an hour from now. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Wonderful. Because we got a lot of questions that are coming up.
Okay. Well, one thing I wanted to say real quick, if that's okay.
By all means.
And I think I still have copies of the emails, but I don't have them in front of me. I have them actually in a safe hard drive in a secure location. But I needed to explain something because I forgot to explain it, and it helps solidify why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Thank you.
After I was basically put back on the blacklist after March, I had a lot of things going. The place I was living at had been tossed 3 times. I had to call the police. The police were doing nothing. I had several attacks that happened, physical attacks on me that happened. One was absolutely an attempt on my life. I would get a cell phone. At one point, I actually watched the cell phone fizzle and spark in front of me. My computer was shut down, hacked into multiple times. Things were getting very hot. So I contacted General Robert Adele, and I told him, I said, listen, I'll make a deal with you. If you call off the dogs, you leave me alone, I said I will disappear, I will leave country, and you will never hear from me again. Do this, leave me alone, and I will disappear. Do not, and I will unleash hell on you, and I will do everything in my power to expose everything the government's involved with. 2 weeks later, there was another attempt on my life, and I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to use every ounce of training I've had since a child, all my experience, all my contacts that I had kept, and so that's what I'm utilizing now to do the work that I'm doing.
Oh, good. So that answers the question of why you are still here with us, helping us. Thank you. It really is, and I can understand how it is very difficult for someone as yourself who is sharing this type of information. I know how it is for people working for other forms of the military and whatnot, especially when we've experienced so much and have so much to say that people would want to shut us up, and we're just very grateful that you're not being hassled. Is it fair to say they're not really bothering you so much these days?
The last encounter I had was about 3 months. Well, no, it had been more than that. It was about 2 weeks prior to my second Project Camelot interview, where I had a visit to the place I was living at prior to where I'm living now. And it wasn't an attempt. It wasn't an attempt on my life, but it was more of trying to persuade me to shut up, and it didn't work. But since that time, I haven't had anything happen, and I can only gather that it is related to several things. One, the more someone like me goes public, and the more people that are aware of me, and it's not about fame or fortune, I could give a crap about that.
Right.
But if something was to happen to me, then people are going to say, well, if Aaron McCollum was full of it, then why did this happen? So the more you're public, really, you're creating a safety zone around you.
Yep.
The other thing, too, which I do know for a fact, is that I am indeed being protected. Someone or some beings, you could say, have expressed some interest in me, which I am slowly discovering relates to what happened with this unauthorized event back in 2005. But it hasn't been easy. I've been able to log since the beginning of 2006 up until maybe 6 months ago, around 104 separate instances where I had lost time. The biggest one was in 2007 where I had lost time for about 3 months. So it hasn't been easy. However, I am a very, very stubborn individual. I lack the basic emotion of fear. Fear was taken out of me around the age of 5. I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of confrontation. I'm just not scared. And I'm using that as a weapon to, one, keep myself safe and those around me that I care about, but also to, be just this fearless and dive into the lion's den and expose all this truth. And the other thing, too, is that, I have a lot of really great support. And even recently, I have even found myself a lot more at ease, sleeping a lot better. Ever since I can remember, I've only slept maybe 1 to 2 hours a night. And in the past month or so, I have found myself suddenly sleeping a lot better, not having so many of the nightmares. But that is actually, I have to thank my fiancée for that one, because she is my biggest supporter, and she's done so much. I have to say that because it's absolutely true. I think once you find when a man finds their divine feminine energy, which the Illuminati has spent so many centuries suppressing,
yeah,
it can, in a way, really make you unstoppable. Almost superhuman. This is why, basic things like women are allowed to be priests in the Catholic Church, and you don't find, you don't have women as vice presidents or even presidents or things like that, because the Illuminati, the global elite, really do fear the divine feminine energy, and this is why women are used so horribly as psychic soldiers, psychic assassins, psychic sex slaves, and so much, because they have to maintain that control. I actually did a show a while back on the friend of mine's show, Project Information Generation, and most of the show was me talking about how women are used within the military-industrial complex, because there's not enough, it's unfortunate, but there's simply not enough female whistleblowers out there. And the reason for that is because they get out, they have children, the children threatened, that's understandable. So, I'm not saying that I'm some messiah for the women, I'm certainly not, but I'm doing my best to be a voice for the women that were used in projects, because I think that's important.
I think it really is a very, very important change of consciousness happening on our planet right now when it comes to allowing the feminine and the divine feminine, if that's what you want to call it, to bring it back into balance with the powers that be. And boy, they are afraid of that. That definitely is that's an obvious. We have go ahead, Aaron. No, go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, well, I was just going to, throw a little humor in here, because I like to keep things light at times, and I like to quote my favorite comedian, George Carlin, who said that there's no way God could be a man, or it could be a woman, because there's no way a woman would F this planet up so badly. And really, he was joking that, it's become a man's world, and the balance is so off scale right now. But I'm watching it, and it's really been happening in the past year since I've been, awake, that the balance is definitely shifting now, and I'm seeing that. And that's why the agendas are having to be changed. Certain things that the global elite were planning on doing this year, last year, and the year before that I was aware of, have been put on the back burner, because the awakening is happening massively now. This is why Brzezinski at the last CFR Council had a 2-hour presentation about the problem with the global political awakening. This is why the Obama administration had a secret meeting on March 31st of this year of what they were going to do about the problem of the awakening happening in the United States, and then what happens, on April 20th, the false flag operation of the Gulf oil disaster occurs. So they are, in a way, running scared because the balance is shifting against their wants.
Well, that's definitely obvious to me, and I hope it's definitely obvious to to most of our listeners, if not all of them. With this, with the time that we have, and I mean, we don't need to just use it all up on this, but I would like to delve in a little bit more into our otherworldly friends and the Stargates that you are speaking of. I know with Kerry Cassidy, you had spoken a little bit about the Gulf of Aden and the Stargate there. There has been a lot of controversy on that if it really is a Stargate, and of course that's just internet buzz. And I'm not concerned with internet buzz, I'm concerned with truth. But as well, we talked a little bit before the show about the Stargates in Miami and Bermuda. And you were talking a little bit about some of the work that, well, as we know, your little escapade that got you into trouble. So what is going on? The military has these Stargates? Is that what it is, that they have the ability to be able to transport themselves to other dimensional realms or planetary realms? Or how would they describe it, or you describe their operations?
Stargates are nothing more than a really fast elevator to another location. That's the best way I can describe it. They're not necessarily the ones that the United States government owns and operates are for off-planet travel. There are other variations of Stargates that have been modified and tweaked for time travel. But the basic Stargates, and there's about 50 of them globally, that's the last number I got from the source, are used for off-planet travel. Again, some of them have been tweaked and modified for time travel via past or present. Yes, Project Stargate originally started as a CIA contracted research where they had contracted the Stanford Research Institute, better known as SRI, where they had such people as Ingo Swann and others who were doing evaluations and testing on remote viewing, not just remote viewing to parts of the world, but they were doing remote viewing in the past, in the future, off-planet. Those documents are on the internet. They're accessible. I've actually collected every single one that I have in an archive that's going to be going on my website. But then that manifested into using that with actual Stargates. And the reason is, imagine you have a Stargate. You want to go to a location, but you don't know what's on the other side. You don't want to send someone on the other side and immediately have them, get killed or injured or blasted out in their face or eaten. So you use these remote viewers and by location remote viewers to do, you could say, psychic surveillance on what's on the other side. And then also, sometimes communication's broken, so the remote viewer is used as the transmitter between whoever's on the other side and, home base. Now, there are Stargates. You can call it Stargate, but I like to call it more of a electrical anomaly, a portal. And this is where we get into the Gulf of Aden.
Right.
Now, I was in contact with two sources. One was, he was actually located in Miami, and he was a former engineer/operator under Project Seagate, and he was with Air Force Space Command. Unfortunately, shortly after my first interview, he disappeared. And myself and Kerry Cassidy lost complete contact with him, which gut feeling tells me that he was taken away either permanently or who knows.
Right.
So I'm sorry to say that, and I have been working on it, but the best updated information I got was actually from a now friend of mine, Jeff Harvey, who is actually going to be on my show next Sunday.
Great.
He's someone that you would definitely would be great for your show. Jeff Harvey was involved with naval intelligence. He had, let's just say, I mean, I don't want to speak for Jeff too much, but Jeff and I have talked a lot. Let's just say that, we'll say that Jeff was also a product of Mark Ultra. And Jeff was doing bilocation remote viewing for Project Stargate. And he was, at one point, stationed off the Gulf of Aden. But I don't want to go any further into Jeff's story because I'll allow Jeff to speak for himself.
Of course.
But Jeff and I talked about that, about my interview and the Stargate, and the best that we've been able to come up between his information and mine is that the reason why, and people can even get on, there's certain websites, and I don't remember the names of the websites, where it's a global tracking system of all ships. Now, not military ships, but all commercial ships throughout the world. You can get on there, and you'll see these little dots on a global map of all commercial ships. It's free information.
However, are you talking about like cargo ships or cruise ships or all the above?
All the above.
Okay.
All but military ships. Obviously, military ships, you can't access on this.
Right.
However, the Gulf of Aden, which, you have the canal right there, which is one of the largest, most used shipping canals in the world. When you get on this website, I haven't checked it in a few months, but when I would get on it regularly, the whole area around the Gulf of Aden and the channel there, you see no ships, nothing. So they blocked it out. What I can tell you is there is roughly around a 300 nautical mile perimeter that they blocked off, and not just the U.S., but the Russians, Germans, Iranians, China, Japan, pretty much all the globally countries that rub elbows together have blocked this off. And within that, there's around a 3-mile perimeter that has more special access. The best that I can come up with now, and this is a little bit changed from what I first said, is that I strongly believe, and I can only give you my intuition and from little facts I've been able to gather since, and I apologize to the viewers that I can't express more because I've been completely blacked out on a lot of this information, is that this is not there are things on the air saying that, people said that they saw something rise out of the water, I don't believe that. What I believe is that this is a Stargate-type portal that has been activated not by humans, by something else. Whether it's benevolent or malevolent beings, I don't know. But obviously the concern is so great with not just U.S., but with other power countries around the world that they've blocked it off.
Right.
That's as far as I can really go with that, with the exception of 2 other things. One, and this I know for a fact, the whole garbage of the pirates going on there.
Yeah.
I can tell you from my experience that is a more funded thing going on, just like Al-Qaeda is really a CIA operation.
Yeah.
I can tell you this. If you've got a 25-foot boat with 1 or 2 gas outboard engines and maybe 6 or 7 guys on there with a few handguns, maybe a couple of AK-47s, maybe they even on the black market got their hands on an RPG. You're telling me, well, not you, but people were saying that right now there's roughly about 300 warships in the Gulf of Aden. Someone's going to tell me that 300 warships from the most powerful countries in the world that have technology and radar systems that can track a fly that lands on a buoy out in the middle of nowhere, and really in one of the smallest locations in in all of the oceans. You tell me that they can't find a couple of pirates on a rickety boat in the Gulf of Aden with 300 warships? It's not even plausible. It's not. It is completely being used as a smokescreen to divert with whatever's going on there with this anomaly portal that has opened. And that is the best information I can give out at this point.
They want to keep everybody out of there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the same thing why there's been this major blockade right in downtown Baghdad in Iraq, and this was recent intel I got actually off of a person I'm in contact with now who was dealt with black operations in Iraq with the 82nd Airborne of the Stargate that is located there. And they're completely using other methods to divert from that. This is why Obama just came out and said, I'm pulling people out of Iraq, the war's over. However, what has been known for all these past years as Operation Iraqi Freedom has been actually turned into, and I have to tell people this is true, it's now being changed to Operation New Hope, which they're going to be keeping 50,000 special operation military personnel in Iraq indefinitely. And what's interesting, too, is the name, Operation New Hope. What did everybody see on all those stickers of Obama when he started his campaign? Hope.
Hope. Change. Hope for change.
Hope for change. And now the new campaign in Iraq is going to be Operation New Hope. They might as well just plop a U.S. flag right in the middle of Baghdad and say, welcome to the U.S. territory of Iraq.
Yeah, absolutely. A quick question.
Sure.
With your experience with what you've done with Operation Stargate, or what you know of Operation Stargate, this is a question on the flip side of it, or maybe perhaps it's not. Would this be something that either the military or the elites could utilize to basically, for lack of a better term, escape planet Earth if they were to destroy it? Is this something that is plausible?
Well, as far as you're talking about this portal, the Stargate type portal in the Gulf of Aden.
Well, any of the Stargates in Operation Stargate.
Okay. Well, I mean the U.S. government and other governments around the world, but primarily the U.S. We already have roughly around 600,000 personnel off planets, and we have. I don't remember the exact numbers, but there's roughly around 134, 136 deep underground military facilities. They're not all large bases, but in the country, and we're averaging about 2 new ones per year in the United States. So, yes, I mean, the elite, the powers that be, the roughly, I think, 150,000 personnel right now that have the special access to this, they could leave planet if something goes on. As far as this anomaly occurrence in the Gulf of Aden, frankly, I don't know if they have the capabilities of destroying it, because I don't think they're the ones that are controlling it. I think it's from an outside source, and right now they're, in a way, scratching their heads going, what the hell are we going to do about this? Well, we don't know, so let's just block everything off and go to the drawing board and figure out what we're going to do.
Right. Well, if it is as the for lack of a better term, the light working 2012 people, maybe it's the good guys getting ready to pull everybody off. Who knows?
Well, I'd like to lean towards that, because I'm not a doomsdayer. I don't believe that the world's going to crack in half in 2012 and everything's going to go to hell. I don't believe that. So I do like to be on the more optimistic side. So I can't say for sure, but I'm leaning towards and hoping that this anomaly is by benevolence force, and that's why they've created this false flag duration of this operation with the pirates and, blocking everything out and completely wiping out information on the news and making Yemen, which a lot of people may not see because it's not on the news so much, but Yemen has become a huge target for the United States.
Yes, it has.
And they're using Al-Qaeda and Taliban as their shoe-in for that. So, this is, if you look at the similarities, in Iraq, hundreds and thousands of libraries, colleges, temples were raided by black operation units of the U.S. military, and books, artifacts, ancient knowledge was taken. Some was destroyed, but most of it was taken. And there is a very old Stargate located in Iraq. Iraq, of course, as I'm sure you know, Bernard, was not about oil. It was not about Al-Qaeda. It was not about the global war on terrorism. It was about the ancient knowledge and the gaining, just expanding on the power and the technology that they wanted. Same reason for Afghanistan. Now we look at this anomaly happening off the coast of Yemen, and now the U.S. a lot more secretly has moved in over there. If you're going to take over something that significant, it's really not that difficult for the U.S. to say, okay, well, we'll just take the whole country.
Absolutely.
And that's what we do.
Yep. Aaron, have you heard of any technology or any kind of operations within the military, or within your experience, even since your awakening, of, let's say, black ops operations or whatnot, to perhaps reanimate the dead? And I know this is a very strange question, but I can't help asking it because of what we're talking about here with Iraq and, basically Babylon and whatnot, and bringing back maybe some of the Anunnaki leaders or anything like that. Have you heard anything, or have you been compelled to research anything on that matter where perhaps they awakened the Nephilim or something to that effect?
It's a really interesting topic. I haven't dived into that topic heavily. However, there are other people who can better explain that, such as, what's his name, Steve Quayle, and a few others, even a really good person to ask that question, a friend of mine, Dr. Bill Deagle. And if you haven't had him on the show, I can definitely get you his contact information because he's a wealth of knowledge and he's very knowledgeable about the Nephilim. But what I have researched and a few things that I've found, now this is secondhand information I have to give you because I don't know myself, is that there have been excavations going on in the Middle East, Egypt primarily, where they have found, let's say, giants, Nephilim, that have been mummified, but they've been mummified in a way to where they're wrapped up in this copper-like suit with these bands. And there are claims that there is a certain technology that can reactivate them, that they're not really mummified, that they're more in a suspended animation. That's something that I have heard, but I don't have any first-hand experience from that. So that's the best I can explain with that one.
And we have a question from one of our listeners, and they would like to know a little bit more about. I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the Project Talent. Are they saying that, or they want to know if people can have other than elemental abilities? Do they have telekinesis or anything like that? And what has been your experience with their abilities?
Well, one of the guys I worked with, again, I can't say his name because he's still active within the project. He was more of the energy that he was able to manipulate. Now, you've seen these movies where you have someone like that movie Firestarter, like in the X-Men movies, where you got the guy that could just, open his hand and flames would come out. That's not what I witnessed. But what I witnessed with this person that was on the team I worked with was he could put his hand on something. Let's say he put his hand on a block of wood, and the wood would start to darken, then it would block, and then it would smoke, and then it would ignite. He could light things on fire by projecting the ability, the energy he had into that object. He basically could start fires, but it wasn't in the way that they project in the movies.
Right.
Yes, telekinesis, and other things I witnessed. I mean, I myself, and I did an actual demonstration at a speaking event I did. I'm still rediscovering this, and I have a few people that were with inside certain projects helping me, but when I talk about the evaluation that was done to me when I was 3 years old, and I'll go back to that, I was taken to a facility by one of my grandmothers who, for the last, my whole life I thought was dead until I found out in January that she's alive and she's kind of underground. She had taken me to a facility. I was somehow paralyzed. I was thrown into a pool. The next thing I remember is laying on a table, coughing up water, and these adults saying something sent to he fits or we've got the right one or whatever. I've seen absolutely strange occurrences that happen around water. I think it was last year, a friend of mine had witnessed me actually have my hand over a pot of water, and I got shocked, and he saw my hand was about an inch above the water. He saw a little bolt of electricity go into my hand. Jake Corso himself witnessed me in this more of an altered state, do something with water where this black, like what he described as dark energy manifested in the water. The demonstration I actually did in front of about 25 people earlier this year. I'd taken a regular glass of tap water. I had a couple of people take sips of the tap water, the fluoride-infected, nasty Southern California water.
Yeah, chlorine.
Yeah, and then I simply put my hand over it. I can't explain how I do it, but I did it. And then I gave them back to the same people. When they tasted it, they said it was the best tasting water. They couldn't taste the fluoride. Yep. These were all people that did not drink fluoridated water. And for your listeners, and I'm sure probably a lot of them do, when you get the taste for real purified water, you can tell when water's been fluoridated.
Yeah.
And they were absolutely amazed, and somehow the water had been purified. I have a really hard time submerging my body in water. Even when I get in the shower, most of the time I have to take a really quick shower because I start feeling this electrical current, like the hairs on my hands will literally start staying up on end. A few times I passed out. I can't explain what it is, but what I do know is it all relates to the real operation I was bred for. And I say bred because there was a unusual surgical procedure that was done while I was still in womb, and I have the physical proof of that to this day. And that's going to Project Seagate. And honestly, with only a half hour left in the show, we simply don't have time for me to really get into Project Seagate. I could spend 2 hours talking about that, but that was the Operation Spyglass was an operation that I was raised and trained for, but the real mission, the real operation that I had been bred for, that I'd been raised for, that I'd been trained for, was Project Seagate, which is a subsea floor military base located off the west coast of Puerto Rico.
Uh-huh. Oh, well, definitely going to have you come back on and discuss Project Seagate.
I'd be happy to, Bernard.
I can relate to so much of what you're talking about as far as, like, well, for lack of a better term, quote unquote symptoms. And I can't help but wonder if you feel, or if you sense, or if you've been contacted in any certain way, and I think you said that you have been contacted, for lack of a better term, extraterrestrially, of being here, or being a representative, or a healer, a speaker, or whatever, from another world. What are your feelings on your connection to the other world, or the other worlds, I should say?
Well, I have a friend, and I call him Myrus, and Myrus is the person, quote, person who was the, again, quote, unquote, person who did the intervention when I had attempted to self-exterminate. I've had visitations, and yes, there is an off-planet race that has taken interest in me, and from what I found out, they've actually had interest in me for a very long time, from what I can gather, since I was a child. And they are known by the English language as the Arcturians.
Oh my goodness, that's who I'm in contact with. Wow. The
Arcturians are a very interesting. So now that we're getting into this, why not?
Yeah,
I'll share with you. I'll just, let's lay the cards out on the table. I have nothing to hide. I have no secrets. It's not that I was hesitant to talk about this before, since I wasn't sure which way this show was going to go, so let's go ahead and pop the cork.
We never know. Pop the cork.
I was shared with, from Myrus and several others, that is kind of this council that, for whatever reason, they like to talk in rhymes and riddles, and I've gotten aggravated. And even times I've yelled at them. One time, I'm not trying to get off track, but one time I actually went outside. It was the middle of the night, and I literally screamed, and I used a lot of profanity, and I said, damn you guys, give me a straight answer. Why me? Why do I have to go through this hell? Why are you doing this? Why aren't I getting a straight answer? And I literally blacked out. In 12 hours later, I woke up on my couch, and I was like, okay. It was almost as if a kid was having a temper tantrum and put in time out. That's the only way I can really describe it. So let's get back to the unauthorized jump. From what I've been able to gather, the other unauthorized jump, I was put into more of an awakened, let's say that I was an autopilot. That's all I can describe it. And from what they shared with me, I went and visited them through the Seagate portal. And information was downloaded into me, which is the explanation that I've received of why I have 104 separate instances of missing time where I was taken. That information has been attempted to be extracted out of my head, and they haven't been able to do it, and that's why I wake up sometimes where I have unusual electrical burns. I actually had Jeff Harvey do a bilocation remote viewing session on me after a time when I was taken, and he was able to tell me exactly when I was taken, why I was taken, how I was taken, and what they did, and even express the aggravation that they had, and I'm referring to what's known as the PTBs. I don't know what the hell is in my head, but I can tell you that I've had some really strange flashes, other things go on. I'm learning as I go. Yeah. And I, by no means, again, I need to express, and I'm not telling people that I'm some chosen one. I'm not some messiah. I'm not some whatever. I'm just a guy
trying to figure it out.
Put into a certain situation, was trying to figure out. I consider myself just as human as everyone else. We're all on the same planet. We're all in this together. Yep. It just so happens that I was selected, as many people have been, and whatever this information is in my head, I know that when the time comes, it will the upload from the download that's put in me, and it'll be used for whatever reason. So, yeah, that's in a nutshell.
I got to tell you, I'm just like blown away because I don't think I've ever heard anybody else talk about the Arcturians on one of our shows, and that's who visits me, and that's who downloads information into me. So it's very.
Well, it sounds like you and I need to have some. Maybe some off radio.
Yes, I agree. We need to compare notes. We need to compare notes because they've been.
I would really like to do that because I'm telling you, it would probably alleviate a lot of the freaking questions I have.
And vice versa, I'm sure. And vice versa. This has been one hell of a journey. I'll tell you, it's been one heck of a journey, and it's not.
I agree.
But yet, wow, the information you get is just so promising. And so revealing that you just can't stop.
There's information I get that frankly there's no word in the English dictionary that I can use to express what's been given to me. I can't even really draw it. However, and this is something that if you're interested I can scan copies and send to you. There's been sessions that even like Dave Corso witnessed and others where I went into an altered state. And I drew and I wrote things that I haven't been able to really figure out, but apparently they were from downloads and they're significant. I kept them. I've got them again in a secure location. And when the time is right, I'm going to be making them public. But it's going to be more like I'm making this public, but I'm not quite sure what the hell it is.
Right. Yeah, no, I can relate to that, and I can really understand your apprehension. Because there's like a certain point of, well, how much am I giving too much information to those who really don't understand it, or am I going to give information that is just going to make me look like a Looney Tune so no one will listen? And why is this happening now? And what I've been finding is that kind of like what you've been doing, and I really appreciate the pace that you use. Because it really is important that it for me, what I've been given has been revealed to be revealed, a bit of a time, and as it begins to reveal, it's like the right time at the right moment. Just kind of like this conversation right now. I'm like, whoa.
The thing is that I have to acclimate myself to the information in order to put it out in the correct way. And I have to be careful of that, like you said, because if I put something out and I've misinterpreted it, I haven't dissected it properly, and this has happened a couple times, and they came back and said, whoa.
Yeah.
So I've had to pump the brakes, because at some points I was really excited, but then I have to go, wait a minute. The other thing, too, is that, frankly, I have been labeled as a Looney Tune. I've been been accused of being a drug addict and all this stuff. And I understand that I don't fit the bill of the typical whistleblower because of my appearance with the tattoos and everything. That's fine. You know what? It does not offend me. Everyone's got their own path. Everyone's got their own pace. And I hold no ill will to the people who have more negative views towards me because, frankly, they're just, whether they realize it or not, they're simply not ready right now to open their eyes, you could say. And that's okay.
Absolutely.
But, that's why I'm doing the work I'm doing now, because the more I speak out, the more I go on shows like yours, the more work I do with the Truth Collective. Again, I go back to, it's really helping me develop who I am. And the bigger network, now that you and I are linked up, now we're in each other's network. And on top of that, everyone that's listening to the show now, and everyone that will be listening to the show later on, whether they realize it or not, they're within that network. They're within the collective consciousness. And we must expand that in order to help with this shift that's going to be happening. I don't believe that's going to be happening in 2012. My gut feeling, my intuition, but, and I could be wrong, but my gut feeling is just telling me that. But it's going to be happening soon, maybe shortly after that, who knows. But what's definite is that it's going to happen. This conscious wave, this electrical anomaly that has already been hitting the Earth, which is why all the planets in our solar system have had a physical change, and which is coming from the center of the galaxy. And this is something I was talking with Alfred Weber last night on my show, is this wave is, in a way, a conscious shift. This is why, in recent years, more people have awoken within themselves. There are more people that are awake right now on the planet than there have been since the days of Atlantis and Lemuria.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a, you can't deny that fact because there are definitely more people here.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as, well, right, I mean, obviously there's more people on the planet, but if you look at the ratio, you know, it's expanding daily. I mean, literally, this is an exaggeration. I mean, you get thousands of people around the world that are waking up every day, and I'm probably underestimated by greatly, which is great, because we need that.
Yeah.
You know, people talk about, I get the question a lot, Aaron, how do I prepare for what's to come? You know, do I need food? Do I need bottled water? Do I need bandages? And I tell them, you know what, that stuff is good to have anyways, because natural disasters do occur. It's good to be stocked up with non-perishable foods. It's good to be stocked up with bottled water, medical supplies, seeds, whatever. But it's actually more important to be mentally, to be consciously prepared. Because no amount of food or water is going to help you if your mental state, if your consciousness isn't raised up into more of a fourth density vibration.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Aaron. I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's exactly what's happening. I can relate and align with exactly what you're talking about. I have one last question, and this is a little bit more cerebral, and then I want to talk about Truth Collective, but I just want to tell you that we're definitely going to have another show and an offline discussion, because we have so much to talk about. I have a question from one of our listeners that they would like to know, what do you know about the underground bases, or is there one in, well, I'm sure there's more than one in Canada, perhaps in the Winnipeg area, or anything in the central Canadian region?
Well, I can't give you a definite answer, but what I can do, and it may help the listener with that question, there is an underground facility in Vancouver, British Columbia, because I was there.
Okay.
There is a facility in the vicinity of Montreal, Montreal, because I wasn't at the facility, but I did some operations based out of Montreal, and I had colleagues discuss it. And I know of another facility in Halifax, around the area of Halifax, Nova Scotia. I did a lot of operations from coast to coast and in between in Canada. But as far as the Winnipeg area, I can't say for sure. I simply don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
What I do know is that there aren't nearly as many underground facilities in Canada as there are in the United States. The United States is an infestation of deep underground military bases, and those expanding. The one at the Denver airport is expanding every day. Dulce Mountain is expanding every day, and everyone's beyond that.
Yeah, the Denver airport is definitely one of the biggest ones that I understand as well. We're down for the last 10 minutes, and so I was hoping for the last 5-10 minutes here that you could tell us where Aaron McCollum is today, what you're working on right now, and what are your future plans. How are things going with Truth Collective and whatnot?
Wow, this is usually a question I ask my guests. I think this is like the first time I've been asked this question. Okay, so
how are you today? Where are you headed?
Well, okay, how am I today? I'll tell you what, I've never been better than I am today. I'm feeling mentally, consciously, physically the best I've felt in a long time. as I had briefly touched on my fiance, I am engaged to the love of my life, and we'll be getting married in November, and I couldn't be happier because she herself is a light worker and truth seeker, and is an amazing being herself. So that is definitely, and that has been such strength and motivation. The Truth Collective is my website, www.thetruthcollective.com, where I have kind of shifted gears a little bit, and I'm now hosting my own online, you could say, TV show on Sunday nights, where I bring on one guest, as you do, and I've had such guests as George Green, Constantana, Michael Tellinger, Cynthia Crawford, and next Sunday I have Jeff Harvey, and then I've got lined up with Steve Bassett and others. And then on top of it, the website also has a section of hundreds of documentaries that people can watch for free. Right. I have another section called The Forbidden Vault, which literally has hundreds of ebooks. Most of these books have been banned from libraries and bookstores. And then I have another section, which I'm going to be launching at some point when we get the website reconstructed, of literally hundreds and hundreds of documents that I've gathered by my own clandestine means through contacts of mine, covering everything from DARPA, the CIA, mind control, the FBI, the NSA, and far beyond that. I've got documents to cover everything from Mount Shasta to more metaphysical side to the shadow government. And I even recently, a contact of mine sent me a whole array of documents that they're not at that point to be released under the Freedom of Information Act. These are documents literally, and I can't discuss them right now because I'm working at getting them encrypted, but these are documents that are as new as 2009 and 2010 that I'm going to be releasing, and everything is for free to people to view, download, and share. Right. So that's the basic of the Truth Collective, and it's just my way, and again, the website and the show isn't about me. I'm just the guy who is helping bring up the information and share it with others. And then coming up, like I said, I've got a show with Jeff Harvey next week, and my show airs from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I have a few other things coming up. Michael Tellinger is going to be in Los Angeles at the end of this month, and I'm going to be with him on a couple of his speaking events and stuff. And then the next thing I definitely have lined up is April of next year, April, I think, 7th, 8th, and 9th, or 8th, 9th, and 10th, or something like that. It's that weekend in April. The Free Your Mind Conference, which is happening in Philadelphia, where I'll be speaking at with other speakers such as Suzanne Taylor, Alfred Weber, Laura Eisenhower, Andrew Battagio, and more.
Sounds awesome. Philadelphia's close. I can go visit.
That would be great. I'd love to have you there. I'll be there for the whole weekend.
That'd be great.
So that's what's going on. And I have many other projects in the works, but, they will be released as they come up.
Well, Aaron, I got to tell you, this has been one heck of a couple of 120 minutes, and I really, really want to thank you for joining me. I think
thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure, and not only is it a pleasure, I feel it's kind of like a cosmic kismet, if you know what that means.
Yeah, I know what that means.
And it's definitely meant to be. I had the same feeling when I had Miriam on a couple months ago, and we just connected. And it's funny how if you look at people, and this is for our listeners out there, if you look at Aaron or Kerry Cassidy or Miriam or myself or those people like Keisha Crowther or Janine Austin, when you look on their Facebook pages, we all have the same friends. And the funny thing is, I never really visit anybody else's page. So when I went on Aaron's page today and I saw he had like 80 of the same friends I do, there's definitely a gelling happening. There's definitely a certain connection, a vitality of light that we're all just really coming together. And that's what I think Aaron's trying to say, and I think that's what, we are trying to say at the GIC. It's not about me. Notice I didn't call it the Bernard Collective or the Bernard Council. It's the Global Council.
Right.
Aaron calls it the Truth Collective. It's not about him. It's not about me. It's about getting the information out there. I am no Messiah. Aaron's no Messiah. Nobody is a Messiah because we are all becoming Messiahs of truth. We are all the ones that are going to be the ones who awaken each other, who support each other, who create a community of oneness, a community of awareness, and a community of support that eventually is going to bring us into this whole new quote-unquote new age. I wish they'd come up with a new term. The golden era. The golden era, whatever you want to call it.
The next horizon, whatever you want to call it.
There we go, the next horizon. I like that one too. But, it seems that there just seems to be such a, and maybe we only got like 4 minutes left, but maybe you can give me a comment on this, Aaron, before we go. Is there such a division within the quote-unquote truth movement as far as this whole esoteric, metaphysical, extraterrestrial thing? They want to keep it political, whereas we are starting to understand it's the political corruption that is leading us to the awakening of understanding of who we truly are.
Absolutely. And just before I give my little final thoughts here, I just want to say I would really love to have you as a guest on my show at some point.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime. Anytime.
So I guess the final thing I just want to say real quick is that there's an unfortunate misconception, and that there's people that sit out there and they hope that, at some point the cavalry is going to come in, that a benevolent alien race is going to come in and they're going to save the day. They're going to stop the global elite and they're going to make the shifts happen. That's not true.
Thank you.
This is direct information I have received from the Arcturians.
Me too.
What it is, and this is why you, Bernard, myself, and others are doing this work to raise the collective consciousness. Once the collective consciousness has reached the apex of where it needs to be, we ourselves are guardians of this planet. We, as the humans, have to take over. We have to take our lives back. We have to say, we've had enough. We're not going to take this anymore. We're taking back what's rightfully ours. When that happens, then there will be this parallel of working alongside benevolent races, working together as a cohesive group, which we did back in ancient times, back in the times of Atlantis and Lemuria. So that is what people need to understand. It's up to us to make this happen. No one's going to do it for us.
And I couldn't end the show any better. Let me just end it there. Aaron, I'll be happy to come on the show anytime. And I hope that we can discuss one-to-one in the next couple days or the next week, and I will definitely email you after the show. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aaron McCollum for joining us here on the Just Bernard Show. Rev Trev, do you want to make a final wow statement or anything?
Yes, very well. Thank you for joining us on the show. It's
well, thank you.
Very good information. It's like,
we've had a good chat out there, huh?
Yes, we've had 18 people at one point, and that's our biggest
Good. That's great.
show yet.
Because that means they have to register through all the accounts and create an account, so good for them.
Great.
Anyway,
Great.
don't forget to look up Aaron McCollum at, what is the address again? The Truth Collective?
It's thetruthcollective.com.
thetruthcollective.com, T-H-E, Truth Collective. This is Dr. Bernard Alvarez. I am here with the Global Illumination Council, and don't forget, everybody, I don't have a job. This is my job. If you would like to contribute, you can contribute at the Global Illumination Council. That's the GIC.org. As well, I want to let you know that we're about to redo our YouTube channel, so be looking for some new little things happening going on over there as well. And next week we have the one and only Eve of Amnesty. That is Yvonne White from England. She will be joining us live from southern UK, talking about her trek through Peru to raise money and awareness for Amnesty International. And she said something very interesting in her press release, that we cannot believe that at this time and at this place that we still have to support and protest or scream about human rights in this world. And this is something that we are all about, is human rights, period. Aaron, I thank you very much for joining us. I will be in contact with you very, very soon. This is Dr. Bernard Alvarez with Reverend Trevor Knott here on the Just Bernard Show. Thank you for joining us. We will see you all next week.